Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with Pollyanna. Chapter 5, The Game of Glad. Nancy was breathless when she reached Pollyanna. "You sure scared me," she said. Father also got scared when I disappeared, but he finally understood that I always found my way back home, Pollyanna explained. "But nobody even saw you leave the house," said Nancy. "You must have gone straight up through the roof." "Not up. I went down, right down the tree by my window." "Well, for heaven's sake," gasped Nancy. "I'd like to know what your aunt would like to say to that." "Well, how about you ask her and find out?" "Mercy, no! No!" It was getting dark and Pollyanna held tight to Nancy's hand. I guess I'm glad you got scared because you came after me. Otherwise, I would have to come back by myself." "Poor little lamb, you missed supper too. I fear you'll have to have bread and milk in the kitchen with me." "It's all right, Nancy. Don't worry about that. I'm glad." "Glad? Why?" "Just because I like bread and milk, and I really want to eat supper with you so we can talk together." "You sure seem glad about everything," Nancy remarked. "Well, that's the name of the game," said Pollyanna. With a laugh. "The game?" "Yes, the Just Being Glad game." "What in the world are you talking about, Pollyanna?" "It's a real game, Nancy. Father taught it to me." "But what is it?" asked Nancy. "Well, we began the game when some crutches came in a barrel of things that people gave to the church," she began. "Crutches?" "Yes, you see, I won it all, and Father told the ladies' aid, but when the barrel came, the ladies said there weren't any dolls, but there were some little crutches that maybe a child could use someday." "Well, that doesn't sound like much like a game," Nancy remarked. "But it was," insisted Pollyanna. "The game was to find something to be glad about in everything, no matter what it was." "Well, that sounds strange to me," said Nancy, somewhat annoyed. "How can you possibly be glad to get crutches when you want a doll?" "Well, I couldn't see it either at first," Pollyanna admitted. "Father had to explain it to me." "Well, how about you explain it to me?" snapped Nancy. "Why, it's simple," Pollyanna said, clapping her hands. "Just be glad you don't need the crutches." "Well, that's not the weirdest thing I ever did hear." "But it isn't weird. It's lovely," insisted Pollyanna. "The harder it is to feel glad, the more fun the game is. Except sometimes it's almost too hard. Like when Father went to heaven and I didn't have anybody left but the ladies' aid. Or when you get an ugly little room in the attic," Nancy added. "That was hard at first," Pollyanna admitted. "But when I got to thinking how I hate to see my freckles in the mirror, and how I don't really need pictures on the wall because beautiful things are outside my window, so I knew I could still find things to be glad about. Trouble is there's nobody to play the game with now. You don't suppose Aunt Polly would play, do you?" "Her?" Nancy grunted. "Of course not. But wait, Miss Pollyanna, I can't say I'll play the game real well, but I'll play it with you. Yes, I will." "Thank you, Nancy," said Pollyanna, giving her a bear hug. Downstairs, Miss Polly was in her chair reading as usual. "Did you have your supper, Pollyanna?" she asked, keeping her eyes fixed on her book. "Yes, Aunt Polly." "I'm sorry to make you eat bread and milk in the kitchen the very first day you were here." "But I'm really glad about it, Aunt Polly. I like bread and milk. And Nancy, too. Don't feel sorry." Miss Polly stared at her niece. A strange feeling came over her. "Time for bed, Pollyanna. Tomorrow we must plan your time, and I'll decide what clothes to buy for you. Nancy will give you a candle to take to your room. Be careful how you handle it. Be sure to be downstairs for breakfast at exactly 7:30. Pollyanna gave her aunt a hug. I've had such a lovely time here so far. Your house is beautiful, and I know I'm going to like living with you. Good night, Aunt Polly, she said cheerfully. What an amazing child, muttered Miss Polly to herself after Pollyanna left the room. She's glad I punished her. She's going to love living with me. Upstairs, lonely little Pollyanna sobbed into her pillow. I know, Father among the angels, that I'm not playing the game now. Not one bit. But I bet even you wouldn't find anything glad about being alone in this dark room. If only I could be near Nancy or Aunt Polly or even a lady's aider. Okay, that's the end of that chapter, and I will see you next time.